The scene opens on a cozy, warmly lit room, where strings of soft fairy lights frame a small stage. A drum kit sits center stage, not tucked away like a background prop, but presented like the true centerpiece it's about to become. The narrator's voice moves through the scene with calm energy, painting a picture of something unexpected: Santa on drums. The image is playful and surprising, but the story behind it is thoughtful and musical, blending tradition, rhythm, and a little modern mischief. Imagine Santa not just as the jolly figure in a red suit, but as a creator of sound. The narrator describes the beard, the boots, the iconic hat, and then shifts to the hands, large, practiced, capable. Those hands grip drumsticks with the same confidence one might expect of a professional musician. The drum kit is arranged for comfort and efficiency. Snare positioned just right, hi-hat within easy reach, bass drum pedal tuned for response, cymbals set to sing. This isn't a novelty act where costume outweighs skill. It's a performance that honors musicality. The story traces how Santa came to the drums. Once, in a quiet workshop between toy assembly and list checking, the rhythm of the elves' machinery seeped into the night air. Screws, hammers, soft thuds, a cadence formed. It caught, first as a curiosity, and then as a calling. Little rhythms turned into patterns, patterns into rudimentary beats. The narrator explains that rhythm is universal. It lives in heartbeats, in footsteps through snow, in the patter of raindrops on a rooftop. Santa's discovery of drumming was a recognition of rhythm as a way to communicate joy, timing, and movement. The narrative takes a friendly detour into the basics of drumming, keeping it light and accessible. The narrator explains that drumming is more than hitting skins. It's about timing, dynamics, and listening. Through simple, evocative imagery, the listener learns about beats and measures, the steady pulse of a metronome-like heartbeat underlying a song, accents that sparkle like snowflakes, fills that surprise like a sudden gust of holiday wind. The story translates these musical ideas into everyday experiences, making them easy to grasp. For example, the steady quarter note beat is likened to footsteps in the snow, while a syncopated rhythm is compared to the playful skip of a child running toward a present. Santa's technique unfolds as the narrator guides us behind the kit. There's a focus on ergonomics and comfort. Santa sitting with a relaxed posture, wrists loose, feet finding the right pressure on the pedals. The narrator emphasizes that proper technique is key to lasting enjoyment. Even for a mythical figure who's endured centuries of chimney descents, the performance that follows becomes a gentle masterclass. Watch the placement of the left hand on the snare, the subtle opening of the hi-hat to let air through, the controlled rebound of each stick. These are presented not as strict rules but as invitations to play thoughtfully. As the beat starts, the story shifts into the musical arrangement. The drums lead into a medley that nods to classic holiday melodies, while carving out a fresh identity. The narrator describes how Santa crafts grooves that sit underneath familiar tunes, giving them a new pulse without erasing their intent. The drum patterns are described in vivid sensory terms. A warm, rolling tom groove that feels like riding down a snowy hill. Crisp cross sticks that click like sleigh bells. A sweeping ride pattern that glitters above the mix like frost on a window pane. The arrangement is a study in balance, supporting the melody, enhancing dynamics, and carving out moments for attention. The story doesn't shy away from the emotional core of music. The narrator invites listeners to notice how rhythm changes the mood of a scene. A slow, spacious groove can make a living room feel intimate and contemplative, while an upbeat shuffle lifts spirits and sparks movement. In Santa's drum performance, each change in tempo or texture mirrors emotional shifts. A soft brush on the snare for a reflective pause when letters are being read. A hearty booming bass drum when presents tumble out of a sack. A bright cymbal crash for a triumphant moment. The drums become a storyteller's tool, shaping anticipation and release. There's also room for humor and playful spectacle. The narrator paints scenes where Santa uses percussion in unconventional ways, tapping a rim shot in time with the twinkle of lights, incorporating toy instruments crafted by the elves, or punctuating a joke with a well-timed cymbal choke. These moments are described as extensions of Santa's personality, generous, joyful, and a little mischievous. The rhythm becomes part of his charisma, a way to connect with children and adults alike without words. The narrative explores collaboration. The narrator describes Santa leading an ensemble of voices and instruments, a choir of elves humming tight harmonies, a toy piano chiming childlike motifs, a double bass that anchors the harmonic foundation. Santa's drumming adapts to the group, listening and responding. The narrator emphasizes that great drumming is about serving the music. It's about making space for others to shine, offering propulsion when needed, and stepping back when silence speaks louder than sound. The scene becomes a lesson in musical empathy, where timing and sensitivity matter as much as technical prowess. The script takes a moment to highlight the inclusive nature of rhythm. The narrator points out that anyone can feel a beat. You don't need formal training to tap along. Children clap, grandparents nod, and pets tilt their heads in time. Santa's performance is accessible because it honors that primal connection. The narration suggests playful at-home activities, stamping a simple rhythm with feet, using kitchen utensils as makeshift sticks, or creating a family percussion circle. These ideas are presented as invitations, not lessons, small ways to explore sound and togetherness during the holiday season. Practical tips are woven naturally into the story. For aspiring drummers, the narrator offers friendly guidance about getting started. Choose a comfortable setup. Begin with simple grooves, practice with a metronome to internalize steady pulses, and prioritize relaxation to avoid strain. The narrator reassures beginners that progress is gradual and joyful, emphasizing repetition and the small victories that accumulate over time. The tone is encouraging, aligning with Santa's supportive spirit. The narrative also honors craftsmanship and tradition. The narrator describes the drum kit as an object with its own history, shells made from woods with distinct voices, heads tuned to specific pitches, cymbals aged and cared for like heirlooms. Santa respects these instruments, maintaining them between performances, polishing cymbal edges and whispering thanks into the shells before a set. This humanizes the instruments and underscores a theme of reverence. Music is a practice that benefits from care and patience. A memorable vignette centers on a midnight rooftop rehearsal. Snowflakes drift as lightly as musical accents. Santa sits behind the kit on a rooftop stage, looking out at twinkling neighborhoods. He plays a groove that seems to sync with the rhythm of the town below, distant clocks, a dog's bark, the rumble of a late-night trolley. The narrator describes the feeling as almost ceremonial, a quiet moment where rhythm bridges the mythic and the ordinary. It's a reminder that music can map time and place, anchoring memory. The story threads in the idea of improvisation. Santa's performances include spontaneous fills and playful variations, like a storyteller adding unexpected details to a familiar tale. The narrator explains improvisation as conversation, listening, responding, and trusting the moment. The fills are described not just as technical flourishes, but as emotional punctuation, moments that surprise and delight, making the audience lean in. Santa's improvisations are generous. They invite participation, laugh in good humor, and sometimes lead to delightful mistakes that become part of the charm. As the script moves toward a climax, the narrator crafts a scene where the full ensemble comes together for a finale. The tempo quickens slightly, dynamics rise, and the drums lock into a groove that is both steady and exuberant. The narrator describes the physical sensations, the vibration underfoot, the warmth of the room, the collective breath held and released with each bar. The cymbals shimmer like a snowfall in motion. The snare snaps like crisp winter air. The bass drum pulses like a heart, steady and sure. The arrangement crescendos to a moment that feels celebratory, rather than grandiose, intimate jubilation rather than spectacle. After the high point, the narration allows the music to settle into resolution. A soft ride pattern returns, the tempo eases. And finally, a gentle brushwork wraps the piece like a closing gesture. The narrator reflects on the simplicity of the ending. Sometimes the most meaningful music is the quiet one that follows an exclamation. This ending feels like a shared secret between performer and listener, a warm glow after the laughter. Throughout, the narrator keeps the voice accessible and warm, dropping in occasional on-screen cues and playful icons to mirror the YouTube format. A sparkle emoji here to emphasize a glittering symbol, a rhythmic patter to mark a melodic idea, a quick tit to signal a shift in scene. These elements are integrated into the narration, not as distractions but as modern storytelling tools that underline visual moments in a video production. The script closes with a reflective arc. Santa steps away from the drums, not to disappear, but to return to his other duties with renewed energy. The narrator frames drumming as a creative outlet that keeps him connected to people and pulse. It's a discipline that sustains joy, sharpens listening, and spreads warmth. The story leaves the listener with an open invitation to explore rhythm in their own life, to find music in everyday moments, and to remember that tradition can be playful and evolving. In the final seconds, the narrator paints a simple image: a pair of drumsticks leaning against a steaming mug on a small table, a single bell left to ring in the quiet. The lights dim, but the pulse of the performance seems to linger, a soft echo of a groove that might return next season. The scene fades out gently,